This is Good Morning Indiana, working for you.
The time right now is 4:27. We want to welcome you into Good Morning Indiana on this Monday morning. I'm Lauren Casey.
And I'm Meredith Barrick. We begin with breaking news from overnight. A string of shootings across the Circle City, leaving police busy. This is happening pretty much all over the metro area.
Yeah, you can look at the map here on your screen and get an idea of where police were doing these investigations in the overnight hours. We can tell you at least 7 people were shot in just a span of a few hours. So a violent night here in metro Indianapolis. Our Kelsey Anderson is going to break down more information about the latest on these cases. We're going to have that coming up, and we'll continue to keep you updated as we learn more about those specific cases as well. Another story we have for you is the weekend protest. We had a number of peaceful protests in the weekend, including on the State House grounds and even some suburbs around the area. And this is not the video, this is the map again, but we'll be showing you some images of all the people gathering here in the downtown area to protest police brutality.
Yeah, thousands of people out here downtown in the Circle City sharing their voices and opinions. Once again, this is the incorrect video. We want to emphasize this is the incorrect video. This is obviously from a different scene from an overnight shooting, not the peaceful protest. We will have that video for you momentarily. We do want to get to meteorologist Todd Clausen, though. Todd, it was a hot weekend. What can we expect as we kick off our work week?
Yeah, Meredith, we're carrying that heat over into the day today, so we're back up into the mid-80s. The humidity, though, today is going to still be fairly low, so that's the good news. We get a sun-filled day for us today with temperatures in the upper 80s, but then things are going to start to change as the remnants of Cristobal heads our way by the middle of the week. More on that in just a few minutes. 61 in Logansport right now, Bloomington 66, 67 in Lafayette. So we're up to 88 degrees once again this afternoon. We got to 87 yesterday, so today we're just as warm, but the humidity, as I mentioned, is still in check. So while it's going to be a hot day and a sun-filled day for us, you don't have to worry about that stifling humidity. That changes tomorrow, though. That tropical system I mentioned is going to bring us some rain, the threat of severe weather, and a lot more in the way of humidity. More on that coming up in just a few minutes.
All right, Todd, thank you so much. We are continuing to follow the coronavirus pandemic and looking for ways that we can rebound out of the pandemic as things begin to open back up. So I'm taking a look at the new normal for mental health services. We talked to the largest community mental health provider in the state about how they had to change things up to continue that care for patients during the pandemic and stay-at-home orders. And they're saying it's so successful, they plan to take a lot of this with them as we rebound from the pandemic. So we're going to break down what they did and how well it worked for them coming up here on Good Morning Indiana.
This is Good Morning Indiana, working for you.
A violent night across the Circle City. Police responding to multiple shootings, at least 2 of them deadly. Now at 4:30, we're breaking down everything you need to know about these investigations.
And protesters in Indiana took their message to the suburbs this weekend, why they say it's important to reach places like Fishers, Noblesville, and Brownsburg.
Plus, major changes are coming to the Minneapolis police force, the action the city council is taking in response to the death of George Floyd. But before we get to our top stories today, I want to thank you for joining us here on Good Morning Indiana. I'm Lauren Casey.
And I'm Meredith Barrick. Meteorologist Todd Clausen joining us from home this morning. Todd, we had some hot weather this weekend. Is that going to continue into our week here?
It sure is. Temperatures today back up into the mid to upper 80s. In fact, a little bit warmer today than it was for your Sunday. The humidity, though, still is going to be fairly low. So that's the good news. If you want to get in that run, I would encourage you to do it this morning, or that bike ride when temperatures are still a little bit cooler compared to later on this afternoon. Mid 60s across most of the area. A couple low 60s out there. Bedford and Crawfordsville at 61 degrees, but Indy's at 68, 65 currently in Greenfield. And the satellite radar picture completely quiet. We're going to be sunny from start to finish throughout the day today. There could be a few fair weather clouds later on this afternoon, but you notice down to our south, that big spin and all that rainfall, that's going to start to lift to the north. It's going to pass to our west, and that's the remnants of Cristobal, but it is not going to bring us a direct impact. It will bring some scattered showers and a few thunderstorms tomorrow, and some of those storms could be strong to severe, but we're probably going to avoid the very heavy rainfall in the the forecast. So for today, 100% sunshine, 66 at 8 a.m., 80 degrees by the noon hour with high temperatures, topping off, Lauren, in the upper 80s.
All right, Todd, thank you so much. Let's take a look at traffic as you're heading out on the roads to start your work week. This is I-65 and 30th Street. Traffic north of downtown is traveling up to speed, both northbound and southbound. Very quiet out that way. We'll continue to keep you updated if there are any crashes or issues you need to avoid for your commute this morning. We do want to get to that breaking news from overnight, though. Metro Police stretched thin with officers responding to multiple shootings across our city.
Overnight, at least 7 people were shot in a span of just a few hours. 2 of those incidents turned deadly. This is a look at where some of the reported shootings happened. The first reported incident, a double shooting called in around 11 last night just north of downtown. This happened near 27th and Martin Luther King Jr. Street. Police tell us a large gathering was occurring when someone started shooting. 2 people, a male and female, were hit by the gunfire. Both were taken to the hospital. The man later died. At last check, the female victim was listed in critical condition. Police also say as people were running away from the gunfire, a woman was hit by a car. She is expected to be okay.
And then around 11:30, officers responded to a shots fired call on Canary Court. That's near 79th and Ditch. When they arrived, they found an unresponsive male victim at the stairwell of an apartment building. We're told that he had injuries consistent with a gunshot wound. IEMS responded and pronounced him deceased at the scene.
Officers were then called to 21st and Tibbs Avenue on the west side on reports of another shooting. We're told there was another large gathering and one person was shot in the chest. He was listed last in stable condition. Officers are also investigating shootings on East Washington Street and North Emerson Avenue, as well as a walk-in gunshot victim to Methodist Hospital. All of those victims were last listed in stable condition. We are working to learn more about each of these incidents, including suspect and victim information. If you have any information that may help police, you can leave an anonymous tip by calling Crime Stoppers at 317-262-TIPS.
It is 4:34. We want to turn now to the latest on the demonstrations across central Indiana. Protesters taking their message from the city to the suburbs over the weekend.
They hit the streets in places like Fishers, Noblesville, and Brownsburg. In Fishers, Rain Acosta had no idea how many people would show up. She organized a rally and march to protest police brutality and demand justice for black men and women who have died in police custody or were victims of hate crimes. She told us she feels the message needs to be just as loud in the quieter communities surrounding the Circle City, and others agree.
These communities like Fishers and Carmel and Zionsville, where they're sitting back in the comfort of their homes and it kind of just goes over their head. So if we come here and show them here as well, not just downtown Indy, it just helps spread the word even more.
There was a moment of silence to honor George Floyd, the man who died last month in police custody in Minneapolis. Protesters then marched with police along 116th Street in Fishers. The chief of the Fishers Police Department also attended. He promised to review the department's policies and get input from the community before changes are implemented.
No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace! No justice!
Well, instead of marching downtown, protesters with Indy 10 Black Lives Matter decorated their cars and drove to the area of East 82nd and North Pennsylvania streets. They called it the Wake Up for Black Lives vehicle procession. Around 6 this morning, yesterday morning, they honked their horns and chanted "No justice, no sleep" outside of what protesters say was Indianapolis Mayor Joe Hogsett's home. Indy 10 Black Lives Matter say that they have a list of demands they want Mayor Hogsett to meet, including releasing the names of the officers involved in the Drajon Reed case.
The protests sparked by the killing of George Floyd remained mostly peaceful across the country this weekend, but organizers say they don't plan to stop rallying until there are changes in police policy. In Minneapolis, where Floyd was killed in police custody, a veto-proof majority of the city council agreed to begin the process of disbanding the police department, but what comes next is still unclear. ABC's Mona Kosar-Abdi joins us now with the latest.
As thousands march in cities from Los Angeles to Washington, D.C., taking a stance against police brutality, the city council in Minneapolis is announcing the intent to dismantle the city's police force.
Our commitment is to end our city's toxic relationship with the Minneapolis Police Department, to end policing as we know it.
Their plan is to end the police department through a budgetary process over the next year, diverting those funds toward a community-based public safety model.
It is your voice. It is your fight that has gotten us to this point.
Earlier, protesters booed Mayor Jacob Fry after he said he does not support abolishing the police force. In Washington today, House Democrats will unveil legislation aimed at reforming policing policies. The bill is expected to impose new conditions on funding for law enforcement and make it easier to prosecute police officers in civil court for misconduct. The nationwide push for dismantling police departments is gaining traction. New York City Mayor Bill de Blasio has announced a list of reforms for the NYPD.
I want to make a statement of principle right now that we will be moving funding from the NYPD to youth initiatives and social services.
In Los Angeles, brutal criticism from the police union, which is now questioning the mayor's mental health after he announced plans to cut the LAPD's budget.
We're worried and concerned about Eric Garcetti. He is clearly unstable.
Other critics say defunding the police is simply absurd.
It makes no sense to me. I think it's a very political statement to make, but it does not protect our communities at the end of the day.
Mona Kosar-Abdi, ABC News, New York.
And it is 4:38. The Centers for Disease Control says it's closely monitoring these nationwide protests sparked by Floyd's death. There are concerns that demonstrations like other large gatherings could lead to a spike in COVID-19 outbreaks. The CDC is also concerned about the use of tear gas and similar chemical agents on protesters because they cause people to cough, which can increase transmission of the virus. It's important to note that it takes, on average, 7 to 14 days for COVID-19 symptoms to manifest. So likely it's going to be a couple of weeks if we're going to see a spike in those cases.
Taking a look at the latest numbers from the state health department, 11 new deaths were reported on Sunday. That brings the total number of Hoosier deaths to 2,121. There were also 417 new cases of COVID-19 reported. More than 304,000 people have been tested for the coronavirus in the state, nearly 37,400 testing positive. That's about a 12% positivity rate, a number we've seen decreasing in recent weeks. We do expect an update from the state around noon today.
And some of our neighbors who are most vulnerable to COVID-19 have extra clothes, supplies, and necessities now thanks to generous volunteers. On Sunday, several health and advocacy groups hosted an event outside of Wheeler Mission downtown to support men, women, and families experiencing homelessness. They were given free personal hygiene kits, face coverings, books, and more. Organizers say that people without stable housing face extra challenges when it comes to protecting themselves from the virus.
They're just on the forefront. A lot of times some of them may be sleeping on the outdoors, and very difficult with our places of business being closed, having the ability to access resources.
Now, for many of our homeless neighbors, health care is a barrier. Many of our homeless neighbors do not have clear, easy access to health care. And so my message is very simple. At Eskenazi Health and the Marion County Public Health Department, we are honored to care for our homeless neighbors.
The president and CEO of Health and Hospital Corporation says Eskenazi community centers across Indianapolis provide free health care services to people in need. A California community is mourning the loss of a deputy killed in the line of duty. Up next, why investigators believe this incident is linked to another deadly shooting.
And Congress is taking steps to reform policing nationwide. Straight ahead, details on the Justice in Policing Act and how it could change law enforcement agencies across the country. Todd.
Hey, Meredith, it's clear here in central Indiana this morning. We'll have plenty of sunshine throughout the day today, but lurking down to our south is the remnant of Cristobal. This is going to head up towards Illinois, giving us a glancing blow, but it could bring us the threat of strong to severe storms throughout the day tomorrow, and maybe even a little spin up of an isolated tornado. We'll talk all about it coming up in your Storm Team 6 forecast. The time now is 4:41. You're watching Good Morning Indiana right here on RTV6.
Hoosiers only on RTV6.
Welcome back. It is 4:44. Here's a live look right now south of downtown I-65 in Keystone. You can see traffic here is moving along smoothly, pretty quiet. You can see some headlights off in the distance. We still have this ongoing construction project here and the lane shifting, so just be aware of that and take it slow as you use those curves, especially traveling northbound. The exit ramps remain open in this area despite all the construction.
A California community is mourning the loss of a sheriff's deputy after he and others were allegedly ambushed by a gunman. This all happened in Santa Cruz County Saturday night. The sheriff's office says around 1:30 in the afternoon, a call was received about a suspicious van that was parked in a turnout. When deputies arrived, the van was leaving the area. Officers followed it to a home and then were ambushed with gunfire and multiple explosives. Sergeant Damon Gutzweiler was shot and later died at the hospital. 2 other deputies were also injured. The department says the loss of Sergeant Gutzweiler is devastating for the entire community.
I ask that the community be patient as we go through this investigation and the grieving process. Damon will be deeply missed by this community, by his family, and by all his co-workers here at the Sheriff's Office. He was a beloved figure here at the Sheriff's Office.
Sergeant Gutzweiler spent 14 years with the Sheriff's Office. He leaves behind a wife who is 3 weeks away from delivering their second child and a 2-year-old son. The suspect is Stephen Carrillo, an active duty member of the Air Force. A spokesman at Travis Air Force Base says Carrillo arrived there in June of 2018 and is a member of the 60th Security Forces Squadron. He's expected to face murder charges, assault with a deadly weapon, carjacking, and other charges. The FBI is also investigating whether Carrillo is involved in the shooting death of another officer in Oakland, California back in May.
2 police officers in Buffalo, New York, captured on this video pushing a 75-year-old protester to the ground, have been arraigned on assault charges. 39-year-old Aaron Torgowski and 32-year-old Robert McCabe were both in court on Saturday. The 2 were suspended immediately, prompting the remaining 57 members of the Buffalo Emergency Response Team to resign from the unit in protest of the suspensions. The victim, Martin Gugino, is a longtime peace and human rights activist. Police initially said that he tripped and fell. Several state leaders came out against the officers, calling the incident, quote, disturbing and, quote, unacceptable. Mr. Gugino was last seen listed in serious but stable condition.
In Washington today, Congress is expected to introduce the Justice in Policing Act. The bill calls for nationwide police reform. It also includes some of the biggest changes to law enforcement the federal government has sought in years. The bill would limit legal protections for police, create a national database of excessive force incidents, and ban police chokeholds. It comes amid national protests against police brutality and racial injustice. The legislation comes from House and Senate Democrats. It is unclear right now if Republicans and police unions will back the proposal. Here at 4:47, let's take a check at our weather with Todd.
And it's a good day for us here weather-wise. Once again, Meredith, as it's going to be very similar to yesterday. The difference is, though, today is going to be a little bit warmer across the area. Yesterday's high was 84, probably about 4 degrees warmer in your forecast for the day today. Live look from IMS, looking back towards downtown Indianapolis on this Monday morning, and the city skyline looking great with the low humidity, all the lights on, and the clear skies that we have out there. 68 in Indy right now, 66. The current temperature in Bloomington, Muncie, at 63 degrees, and in around the metro area, temperatures are in the mid-60s, 65 in Castleton as well as Martinsville. New Pal currently sitting at 63 degrees. So throughout the day today, it's sun-filled from start to finish. Temperatures will eventually get up into the mid to upper 80s. Humidity still low for the day today, so it's a good opportunity to get out and about. If you have to pick a time, though, to maybe do some of those outdoor activities. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit cooler here this morning than it will be later on this afternoon, but you don't have to worry about any rainfall for the day today. And the humidity today remains fairly low. That is even better news. And as we expand out, there will be a few isolated thin clouds making their way through the area later on today, but that is going to be just about it. But down to our south, here is the remnants of Tropical Storm Cristobal that made landfall yesterday. This is going to bring a lot of heavy rain into the Midwest. However, the track of Cristobal is actually going to take it through Arkansas, Missouri, Missouri, and then into western Illinois. So we are just going to be on the far eastern fringe of this system as it starts to advance to the north. So the impacts here in central Indiana will be rising humidity. The humidity comes way up tomorrow because this storm is just going to transport all the humidity in the deep south into our area. The wind is going to pick up, as will rain chances. So tomorrow, wind gusts could be up to about 35, maybe 40 miles per hour, and a few storms could be strong to possibly severe. And the Storm Prediction Center does have parts of western Indiana under the slight risk for severe weather. So TrueCast today just shows the high thin clouds coming in late tonight, and then throughout the day tomorrow, it's not a complete washout, but notice some of these storms starting to develop across parts of western Indiana. That's where we're in the slight risk, and that's also the best chance where we'll have the potential for maybe a few isolated spin-up tornadoes. Don't think tornadoes in the sense that they're going to be the big ones that stay on the ground for a long period of time, but there's a lot of rotation within storm systems like a tropical system, and that could give us a few brief tornadoes tomorrow. 87 the high. Once this storm system moves through, great weather for the end of the week and into the weekend with cooler temperatures, lots of sunshine, and still low humidity. Lauren.
All right, Todd, thanks so much. Let's take a look right now at traffic as you're heading out on the roads. This is a camera here at I-70 and Mount Comfort Road to our east. Now, as you're traveling into work this morning, just be aware we do have some construction going on in this area near Mount Comfort Road. It's blocking one right lane at this hour on westbound I-70. We may have other areas blocked as well, so just keep that in mind. You can see those orange barrels out there on the side of the road. Use caution. Overall, everything here is still traveling up to speed, but we'll keep our eyes on it and let you know if there are any delays.
Mark Zuckerberg says Facebook will review its policies concerning the state use of force, voter suppression, and content moderation after receiving backlash from employees. In a contentious town hall, many employees expressed outrage that Facebook did not take action against Donald Trump's posts that rival platform Twitter had been flagged for being misleading and glorifying violence. Zuckerberg had previously said Facebook would take down any post that incites violence rather than place a warning label on it. But when questioned about the decision to leave Trump's posts up, he said Facebook's policies don't cover state use of force.
Samsung is offering a new app to help people with their hand washing game in the coronavirus era. The hand wash app for Samsung smartwatches can be downloaded from the Galaxy Store. Users can set reminders to wash their hands, for example, every 2 hours. Among other features, it also has a 25-second hand washing countdown, 5 seconds for applying soap and the rest for scrubbing. It can track your daily hand washing and give you a weekly average.
Sesame Street is taking steps to help kids understand recent events. Coming up, the pledge some of your favorite characters are making to help the world heal. We'll be right back.
In select areas, call 1-877 only ATT.
Welcome back. Sesame Street and CNN teamed up to bring children and adults a different type of Saturday morning cartoon, a town hall with Elmo and friends to address the recent protests.
The family-friendly 60-minute special titled Coming Together, Standing Up to Racism aimed to explain racism and why people are protesting across the country and the world. The town hall also answered questions from kids and families around the United States. It ended with Elmo and friends pledging to do their parts to make the world a better place.
I want you a picture of what Elmo wants. All of us loving each other. Oh, yeah. Elmo is going to bring the sign to the community center to show Elmo support because Elmo can do better.
I 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 can do better.
We can do better. We must do better. We will do better.
This is the second town hall Sesame Street put on. The first town hall in April addressed the coronavirus pandemic. Both are available to watch online. A great way to explain to kids what is going on in our world a lot right now. So, I know a lot of families sat down and watched that on Saturday morning together.
I just like seeing their houses in the background.
The
all
Sesame
the characters.
Street house.
Yeah. That's pretty awesome. All right, Todd, let's get a check of our forecast today. A great weekend. What can we expect for our Monday?
You know, we're going to carry the nice weekend weather over into today. That is the good news. 88 degrees with warm, sunny conditions. The humidity not super high today. Tomorrow we get into the remnant of Cristobal, and that's going to bring scattered storms. Some could be strong to severe. A lot more humidity tomorrow as well. Then cooler but quiet weather for the end of the week heading into the weekend. We'll talk more about it when Good Morning Indiana continues. The time now is 4:57.